Good day to all of you students. Today we will understand what is free fall of an object under gravitational effects. So if you just let fall on a body like this, it falls under gravity. That is called free fall if we neglect frictional effects of air. So if frictional effects of air are neglected, then the fall of body due to gravitational force, that is called a free fall. Now, when we want to study free fall means we want to see after a certain time interval t, what will be the velocity of body, how much displacement of body must have taken place, and all those things you want to see. Because when we want to study motion of an object, we want to have idea of its position, displacement, velocity and acceleration. You know that. So about acceleration, it will be falling under the effect of gravity. So gravitational acceleration will be acting on it. So g will be 9.8 meter per second square. That will remain constant with respect to time. Now children, you will have to remember 2-3 things. If you drop a body from a great height, if this is the height from which you let fall the body and this is the radius of the earth, if this h is comparable to radius of earth, then whatever formula we are going to teach you, they are not going to hold. That means whatever formulae we are going to teach you now in this video, they are applicable only when h is very small as compared to radius of earth. Only under this situation these formulae will be applicable, because only when a body falls from a small height from the surface of earth, then your g, which is 9.8 meter per second square, this remains constant, otherwise it will keep on changing as your height increases from surface of earth. This g will keep on decreasing. That you will see in detail in chapter of gravitation, chapter number 8. So right now whatever formula we are teaching you, in that understand that h is very small as compared to radius of earth, approximately 10 kilometer, because up to a height of 10 kilometer the value of g remains constant. After that it will start changing, it will start reducing if you go higher and higher. So right now we will assume that we are letting the body fall only from a height of less than 10 kilometer, and naturally even the height of Mount Everest is around 8.8 kilometer. So therefore from practical point of view we are not going to that much height and letting the fall body. So whatever equations we are going to derive now for displacement or velocity, whatever, they are for those bodies which are let fall from a height of less than 10 kilometer from surface of earth. We think like this. Only then g will remain constant. Also, we are assuming there are no frictional effects of air present. So we are neglecting friction because of air, because if friction is taken into account, then the body's energy, mechanical energy, will be lost in the form of heat energy because of friction with air. So that we will see in detail in work energy power. Right now we are neglecting that there is no the effects of air, and we assume that body is falling in vacuum. We are assuming there will be no loss of mechanical energy, which is made up of kinetic and potential of the body, because there is no friction with air. We will neglect those effects. We will consider even if those effects are present, they are not causing much harm, much loss to the mechanical energy of the body. We will assume like that. So with these assumptions, we begin our topic. Now children, as I told you, if a body is falling like this, so you can think that it is falling in one dimension. It is a chapter of motion in one dimension. Now because it is a vertical line on which body is traveling, we will consider that body is performing motion on y-axis, and this will be our y-axis that you know. Like this, you will have this will be origin, this will be plus y, and this will be minus y. We are going to think like this. And we are dropping body from somewhere. Supposing we are dropping a body from a height of y, supposing in time t the body is dropped from here and it reaches y, distance of y in time t. It was here at t equal to 0 and it is reaching over here at time t equal to t. It reaches this point in time t. So it was dropped from certain point. Dropped means what? Its initial velocity will be 0. That is the meaning of free fall. We will have initial velocity 0. So initial velocity of the body is 0. We are just letting it fall. I am not throwing it. So there is difference between throwing and just dropping it. Just dropping means I just leave it. It starts a motion with 0 speed, 0 velocity. When I am throwing it, then I am throwing with a push. So initial velocity is not 0. Right now we are discussing free fall. That means we are assuming that initial velocity is 0. At time t equal to 0, a body was released, and at time t equal to t, it reaches over here, and displacement of the body is y. Now the body is falling towards negative side. So whatever vectors are there in downward direction, they will be taken negative, and whatever vectors are there in upward direction, they will be taken as positive. Remember, when the body is falling down, its velocity is downward, the velocity will be negative. Displacement is downward, the displacement will be negative. Acceleration also acting downwards, the acceleration will be negative. So 2-3 things we have to understand for this free fall. VO is 0, displacement becomes y in time t. Initial position is 0. This position I consider 0. Please remember. Now children, please understand. 0 point can be considered as any point, the starting point. Earlier I said that the origin is here, but I can consider 0 point at any point. So I shift my origin from where the body was let fall, and I think that this is the 0 point. And in time t, it travels the distance y. So this will be the coordinates 0 minus y. Remember, 0 minus y, because this is the 0 point, so this is the origin and this is negative side of y axis. This is the origin point, this is negative y axis, this distance is y, so what will be the point? 0 minus y. Think like this, if I show you over here, this is x axis and this is y axis. If this is the origin 0, 0, if there is a point over here at distance of 5 units, what will be the coordinates, children? 0 minus 5, because this point is on negative y axis. This is y dash. Similarly, this is my origin. This is the point 0, so this becomes the negative y axis. Distance is y, the point will be 0 minus y. So the body reaches the position minus y in time t. That is what we want to say. So position of body is 0 at time t equal to 0, and position of body is minus y at time t equal to t. So position I write over here. Now I wrote this, that is okay. y0 is 0 at t equal to 0, and y is minus y at t equal to t. Acceleration will be always minus g downward to negative, and that will be minus 9.8 meter per second square, like this you will have. So acceleration minus g minus 9.8 meter per second square. Now we want to find out velocity, supposing. So children, what is the formula for velocity? V equal to VO plus AT. That is one formula we are having. So V will become 0 plus minus g into t. So V equal to minus gt. That is first equation about velocity. Then we also have V square minus VO square is equal to 2AD, where d is the displacement. So V square minus 0 square, 2 minus g. Displacement means final position minus initial position. So final position minus initial position. Final position was minus 1. Finally the body was here. Initially it was here. So v square becomes equal to 2gy. So v square is 2gy. And now my velocity is in downward direction. Velocity is in downward direction. So v I will write as plus minus root 2gy. First thing is that. And now I have to think whether v should be plus or minus. Because the body is falling, velocity is directed downward. Downward means negative. So velocity should be equal to minus root of 2gy. Like this you have to think. So velocity will be minus root 2gy. So this is the formula for velocity in terms of y if you want. This is the formula for velocity in terms of time. This is the formula for velocity in terms of displacement. If I want to know the displacement, we can start from here. Displacement d equal to VOT plus half AT square. So displacement will be 0. VO is 0, initial velocity. 0 into t plus half minus g t square. So d will be minus half gt square. Displacement will come out to be negative c. It is falling downward, so displacement will be negative automatically. You put the value of g as 9.8, t as 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds, you will get displacement. So displacement is equal to minus half gt square. That is the formula between displacement and time. So if I want to draw the graphs of all these things, v versus t, v versus y, and d versus t, how will the graphs come? See children, this is the graph of time and velocity. Okay, as time will increase, if I take supposing g as 10, supposing only for understanding purpose, so v is equal to minus 10t. Here is t and here is v. 1 I write like this, 0, 1, 2. This will be 0, minus 10, minus 20. So 0, 0. Okay, so write like this, 1 and 2, and this is the 0 point. For 0, 0, 1 and minus 10, let this be minus 10, 2 and then this will be minus 20. So the graph goes like this, a straight line. Naturally, because you know power of v is 1, power of t is 1, it is a linear equation. Y equal to mx, m is how much? Minus g. The slope is minus g, minus 10. The slope is negative, that you can make out. If I draw graph of v and y, I take up this equation. So it is a graph of displacement versus velocity. Now children, you have to remember square of v. So this graph will come like this, that I have told you already, parabolic graph. If one has got a square, another has got power 1, then the graph is a parabola, you know that. And v is plotted on y-axis. The variable which is having 1 power, now please understand children, in a quadratic expression, see, v has got square and y has got 1. 2g is constant, forget about it. So v is having power 2, y is having power 1. So the variable which is having power 1 like y is having power 1, v is having power 2. The variable which is having power 1, graph will be symmetric about that axis. Symmetric means like this. If it would have been like this, supposing v is equal to 2g y square, supposing it would have been like this, v is equal to 2g y square, then y is having square and v is having power 1, then your graph would have been like this. There is v over here and y over here, the graph would have been like this. So the variable which is having power 1, the graph is symmetric about that axis. The axis on which that variable is plotted, which is having power 1. Right now here y was having power 1 and y is plotted on x-axis. So graph is symmetric about y-axis. This y-axis. This y-axis. If this would have been the graph, then v is having power 1. So on whatever axis v is plotted, graph would have been symmetric about that. Here v is plotted on y-axis, so graph is symmetric about v-axis, means y-axis in this case. So please remember this point, children, how to draw the parabola, how to take judgment, which graph will come. Don't draw this graph like this, it will be wrong, it should be coming like this. And we know V is negative, V is not positive. So we cannot take positive, so we rub out this much graph. And this is the graph of V versus Y. Please notice, because V is negative, so you take only the negative region of V axis, not the positive side. Because body will fall like this, so velocity is directed towards negative region. Then d equal to minus half dt square. Again it's a parabola, you can see that. Okay, and I told you that wherever the power is 1, graph is symmetric about that. T is having power 2, d is having power 1. It should be symmetric about d, it will be symmetric about d like this. And we want to take negative, so we have to draw the graph like this. Because coefficient of t square is negative, it will be downward opening parabola, like this you have to take, and d has to be negative, so we are drawn like this. But t cannot be negative because t is time it is always positive, so we about this much region. So your graph may come like this. This is the graph of d and t, please understand. So I have drawn all the graphs for you. If you want to draw the graph of acceleration versus time, you know that acceleration does not change with respect to time or displacement. If I draw the graph over here, one more, if you want to know, this is time and this is acceleration. Acceleration will always remain minus g. This is negative side, so I plot like this. This is minus 9.8. So a graph goes like this. Whatever be the time, acceleration will remain always same. How much? Minus 9.8 meter per second square. This is the graph of acceleration versus time. So all these graphs I have drawn for you. That is the case of free fall. Please pause it for me, children. We will discuss more things about this. Okay, children. Now let us understand few sums. Let us pick up some numericals to understand how things are done. Supposing there is a building like this, and the height of this building is supposing 25 meter. Okay, and there is a ball thrown from here in upward direction. The ball is thrown upwards from the top of a building which is 25 meter high. So the initial velocity is 20 meter per second. The ball is thrown up with a speed of 20 meter per second. VO is equal to 20 meter per second. We want to know to what height the ball will rise, when it will come down to the earth, and with what velocity it will strike the earth, that we want to know. So children, supposing we fix up this as y-axis, and as I told you, you can put any point as a starting point, 0 point on this y-axis. You can mark any point as a 0 point. So supposing this is A point, the ground, this is B point, the top of the tower from where the ball is thrown upwards with a speed of 20 meter per second in upward direction. This is the point y equal to 0, and therefore this will be the point y equal to 25. So the initial position of the ball is y equal to 25. That will be y0 because this height is already 25 meter. The ball is being thrown from a height of 25 meter. So the y0 becomes 25 from where we have thrown the ball upwards. And we think that the ball may rise like this, it may reach the point C. And because this is the highest point, when the ball will reach the highest point, you know it will stop, its velocity will become 0 at point C. It will go like this, and at point C its velocity will become 0. Supposing this will be the upward direction will be taken as positive and downward will be taken minus, because upward is positive y-axis, downward is negative y-axis. You will have to be very careful in choosing the sign of velocity, displacement and acceleration, because these are vectors. Displacement, velocity, acceleration are vectors. You have to choose the sign properly, children. So supposing first I find out how much time the ball takes to reach the point C from B. So first I take the motion from B to C. Understand nicely. So first is from B to C. Okay. Now B to C, whatever may be the displacement will be VOT plus half A T square, I think like this. Now D means displacement, I don't know that. I know initial velocity, but I don't know the time, in how much time it will reach. So I cannot use this equation. Another equation with me is V equal to VO plus AT. I know the final velocity 0 at the topmost point. I know the initial velocity 20 meter per second. It is in upward direction. Upward is plus, so this will be counted plus. We have to be very careful about the sign, children. So VO I know, acceleration I know. Acceleration will be, supposing we take minus 10 instead of minus 9.8 to ease out the calculation. So acceleration is in downward direction. Whenever the ball is going up or down, direction of acceleration is not changing. If the ball is going up or it is coming down, G is always downward and downward is negative. So A will be minus G and that will be minus 10 meter per second square. So acceleration we know, time we don't know. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, out of 4 variables, I know the value of 3 variables, 1 is unknown, so I can use this equation. So V0, VO is plus 20 plus minus 10 into 2, so 2 will be 2 seconds. That means the ball will reach the point C in 2 seconds. So once I know the time, if I put over here, now I know the time, I know the initial velocity, I know the acceleration, I can find out displacement. So what will be the displacement from B to C again? D will be VOT plus half AT square. So D will become VOS 20. It was thrown with the speed of 20, I think. Time taken is how much? 2 seconds. Plus half minus 10, 2 6. Note that A is minus 10 always. So D will be 40 minus 5 into 4, 20. So displacement will be 20. It is coming out to be plus. That means it is in upward direction because upward means plus. And we know displacement is in upward direction. So when the ball reaches the topmost height, this will be 20 and already this is 25. So what will be the maximum height of ball from the ground? 45 meter. So height of ball from ground. Therefore, height of ball from ground, that will be 25 plus 20 and that will be 45 meter. And this is maximum height of ball. Maximum height of ball from ground, that is 45 meter. Because already 25 meter it was there. From year to year, 20 meter more up we went. So it becomes 45 meter. Now I come to C to A. From C to A. Okay. Now children, remember, from here it has to come down a displacement of 45 meter. Because this is 20 and 25. Now displacement will be in downward direction. And downward is minus. So displacement will be minus 45. Acceleration will be minus 10. Of course you can put the units. Time I don't know in how much time it will fall. I don't know that. In how much time it will fall. T I don't know. But VO I know. Initial velocity will be 0. Because the ball has reached the topmost point. Now again it will start falling. So initial velocity will be definitely 0. Because it went up, it stopped, now it is again coming back. So when it is stopped, it is coming back, the initial velocity is what? 0. So at point C, when it starts coming down, velocity will be 0. So we can use T equal to VOT plus half AT square. Let us see. Minus 45. VO is 0. T we don't know. Half minus 10 T square. So minus 45 is minus 5 T square. So T will be 3 seconds. Minus minus cut. T square will be 9, so T will be 3 seconds. Means from C to A, it will come back in 3 seconds. So once it is there, total time of flight. Total time of flight. For how much time it was in air? From B to C plus from C to A. So that is equal to time of flight equal to time in going from B to C plus time in going from C to A. This was how much time? 2 seconds plus 3 seconds. That means how much? 5 seconds. For 5 seconds it was in air before touching the ground. What will be velocity over here? With what velocity it will strike the ground? Again I go from C to A. From C to A. V equal to VO plus AT. Final velocity when it reaches over here. That will be VO means 0 plus minus 10. Time from C to A is how much? 3 seconds. So velocity upon reaching the ground will be minus 30 meter per second. This is the point. Minus why? Because it is in ball is coming down. Down means negative. The velocity negative means it is coming down with the speed of 30 meter per second. Speed is 30 meter per second, but velocity is minus 30. Minus sign means it is in downward direction because downward means minus for us. So this way we have calculated all the fundamental points. For how much time it was in air, how high did it rise, what was the maximum height from the ground, in how much time it will start falling from C to A, with what velocity it will strike the ground, all those things we saw. Please pause and copy, children. We have to take care of sign, that is very, very important to be learned in this sum. See children, in this question, supposing you are asked only this much, okay, when I throw the ball upward with a speed of 20 meter per second, in how much time the ball will reach over here? Only if this much asked. Total time of flight is asked. In how much time the ball will come over here after going up and then coming down. So if you want to find only the time of flight, then you may not go for the time taken by the ball to go from B to C and then again from C to A like in the previous section. You may not do that in that case if you want to find total time of flight. So what you have to do, you know there is a formula like D equal to VOT plus half AT square. And this D means displacement, that is final position minus initial position. We know that ball will start from here and it will come over here. This will be the final position, y equal to 0. This will be the final position. We are starting from here, so this will be the initial position. So displacement will be final position minus initial position. So initial position, final minus initial. So final, I write the equation for you. Y minus yo is equal to VOT plus half AT square. Final is 0. This was 25. VO, that is 20 and plus because it is in upward direction. Time we want to find out, acceleration is minus 10 t square. So minus 25 will be equal to 20t minus 5t square dividing by 5. Minus 5 is equal to 4 minus t square, t also. So t square minus 4t minus 5, that will be 0, bringing all that on the side. Factorize t minus 5, t plus 1 equal to 0. So t will be 5 and t will be minus 1. T means time interval, which cannot be negative. Time interval will be always positive. So we take time as how much? 5 seconds. So this will be the time of flight. It will take 5 seconds to go from this point to this point. So like that, if you are asked to find out only the time of flight, you can directly go like this. You may not split up in first going from B to C and then going from C to A again. You may directly go like this. Okay? Please pause and copy. These are few tricks that you have to understand. One interesting point, children, we want to understand about a statement given by Galileo, that if an object is falling freely from 0 speed, we allow it to let fall. And if we give it equal time intervals to fall, say t, then 2t, then 3t, then 4t, like this. So we are giving it tt time to fall. So first t seconds it will reach over here, then again t seconds it will fall, again t seconds it will fall, again t seconds it will fall more. So we will give it equal times to fall. Say let us call the time as tau. So tau, then again it will fall in tau time, again it will fall in tau time. We want to see whatever distance was covered by the body in equal time intervals given to it. As the body falls like this, supposing this is the point y equal to 0, it starts falling from here. In the first time interval of tau, t was tau, the body reaches over here. In another time, t equal to tau, the body reaches at point y2. So this is the distance d1 covered in the first time interval of tau. This is also tau time taken. So this is the distance d2 covered by the body. Then again we give it time t equal to tau to fall from here to here. It reaches the position y3. This much is the distance covered by the body. In the third time interval tau, so we are giving it equal time interval tau, tau and tau like this. And distances covered by the body are d1, d2, d3. We want to see what is the ratio of d1, d2, d3, d4 like this. What is d1 upon d2? What is d2 upon d3? What is d3 upon d4? We want to see those ratios. So first understand the question. The body is being allowed to fall from initial speed of 0 from the point y equal to 0. And it is covering distance d1, d2, d3 in equal time intervals. Tau is a Greek alphabet. Tau we pronounce like this, T-A-U. T-A-U, this is the spelling of this letter and written like this, tau. Okay, we write T in English like this. So this is curved a bit. We start from here and we write like this. So this becomes tau. Tau, T-A-U. Okay. So tau amount of time is given for the body to fall. Tau, tau, tau like this. And we want to find out ratio of these distances. So children, over here the time is 0. When the body reaches over here, the time becomes tau. Please understand. When the body reaches here, the time becomes 2 tau. Okay, tau and tau, 2 tau. Over here the time becomes 3 tau. है ना? The time, instant of time becomes 3 tau. Time interval is tau, but instant of time is 3 tau. Tau, tau and tau. Time instant will become 3 tau. That means from here to here, time is 3 tau. From here to here, time taken is 2 tau. Here to here, time is tau. Here to here, it is tau. Here to here, it is tau. Like this you have to think. So let us see, children. I will talk of, say, let me number the points. Supposing this is point A, this is point B, this is point C, this is point D. I think like this. And again, we consider downward direction as minus and upward direction as plus. So downward is minus, therefore gravity is in downward direction, therefore acceleration will be minus g because it is in downward direction. So first I talk of A to B, from A to B. So displacement is d1 and formula for d is VOT plus half AT square. So d1 will be 0 because velocity is 0. 0 into tau, because from A to B time taken is tau, plus half minus g tau square. So d1 will be minus half g tau square. So that is displacement 1. Okay, and it is negative because it is in downward direction. So automatically displacement is coming out to be negative. Then I talk from A to C, children. I am not talking from B to C. I am talking again from A to C because I know velocity at A is 0. So from A to C, again from A to C, what is the total displacement? d1 plus d2, remember. So d1 plus d2 will be VOT plus half AT square. So d1 plus d2, 0 velocity, starting from A, initial velocity from whatever point you started. You started from A, velocity 0, plus half minus g 2 tau square. From A to C time taken is how much? 2 tau. From A to C, time is 2 tau. Tau and tau, 2 tau. So that becomes, and d1 I know it is minus half g tau square. So that will be minus half g 4 tau square. I write like this. Anyway, d1 plus d2. So d1 was with me minus half g tau square. So that is plus d2 is equal to minus 4 upon 2 g tau square. So d2 will become minus 2 g tau square plus half g tau square. Okay, this becomes plus. So minus 2 plus half. So d2 will become minus 3 by 2 g tau square. And see, minus half g tau square is d1. So this will become minus 3 d1. Can I think like this? Because minus 3 into half g tau square. I can write like this. It is 3 into minus half g tau square. And minus half g tau square is what? D1. So I can write d2 as 3 into d1. So d2 is 3d1. I come to know that. Let me go from A to D. Again, so what is the displacement? d1 plus d2 plus d3 from A to D, and that will be VOT plus half AT square. Now d1 plus d2, children, I know that is minus d1 plus d2 minus 2 g tau square, right over here, minus 2 g tau square plus d3. VO is 0 from A to D. A is the starting point, plus half minus g. What is the time taken from A to C? 3 tau square. So minus 2 g tau square plus d3 is minus 9 by 2 g tau square, and a 9 and then tau square. So d3 becomes 2 g tau square minus 9 by 2 g tau square. So this becomes, d3 becomes 4 minus 9 minus 5 by 2 g tau square, that can be written as 5 into minus half g tau square. So d3 becomes 5 d1. So children, please remember, d1 is d1, d2 is 3d1, and d3 is 5d1. So what pattern I can see? d1 will be d, d2 will be 3d1, this is 5d1, and so on. And then what I will get? d4 will be 7d1, d5 will be 9d1, and so on. Right? So d1 is d1, d2 will be 3d1, this will be 3d1, this will be 5d1, like this. So ratio of distances, d1 is to d2 is to d3 is to d4, like this. That will be how much? That will be d1 is to 3d1 is to 5d1 is to 7d1 is to 9d1, like this. 9d1, sorry. And that will be how much? 1 is to 3 is to 5 is to 7 is to 9, like this. These are odd numbers. These are odd numbers. Therefore, this is called Galileo law of odd numbers. Galileo's law of odd numbers. That means when time is equal, then the distances covered by the body are in multiples, are in the ratio of odd numbers. If the time intervals are equal given to the body to fall, then the distances covered, displacements are in the ratio of odd numbers. Please pause and copy, children. This was the point. Now children, one more topic we want to understand. You must have observed that if you are riding a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, right now you are too young, so you may not be riding four-wheelers, and you should not also, but being a 11th, 12th student, you may be riding two-wheelers, bikes or scooty, whatever, and you must have observed that if your bike is slow, it is very easy for you to stop it. But if you are going at a great speed, then it is very difficult to stop it in a shorter distance. So when you are going at a great speed and if you want to stop suddenly, then many times we apply powerful brakes and therefore we sometimes skid and we meet with an accident, unfortunately. So we want to understand what impact your speed has got on the stopping distance. Stopping distance means the distance covered by the body from the point of application of brakes and the point where it stops. How much distance a body will travel before it stops completely from the point where brakes are applied. So supposing you are going at a speed of VO and you apply brakes suddenly, if some obstacle comes, then what distance will be traveled by your two-wheeler before it completely stops? Let us see on what factors it will depend. You know that V square minus VO square is 2AD. This equation you know, where D is the displacement. Now you are going on a two-wheeler like this. Initial speed is VO, and here your speed becomes 0. You have traveled a distance of D. Remember, your speed is decreasing. You have applied brakes. Therefore, force applied by the brakes on the two-wheeler is in this direction. So because force is like this, therefore your speed decreases, because acceleration happens to be in opposite direction of the velocity, and therefore your speed keeps on decreasing, velocity keeps on decreasing. If I take this as the positive direction and this as the negative direction, so your acceleration is backward in this direction, so this should be minus. Your displacement is like this in forward direction, so this should be plus, this should be minus. VO is in forward direction, so plus direction, this should be plus, like this. If I put up all these things over here, V square, that is 0 square, minus VO square is equal to 2, this is plus. Acceleration minus A, because it is in the opposite direction, and displacement D. So minus VO square is equal to minus 2AD. So D equal to VO square upon 2A. So displacement is proportional to VO square upon 2A. Now children, remember, acceleration provided by the brakes, actually it is deceleration, which you must have studied till 9th. Actually it is deceleration because it is in opposite direction. But in 11th we will call it acceleration only, but with the negative sign. So we won't call it deceleration. Deceleration means what? Opposite of acceleration, only in terms of sign. When it is negative acceleration, it is deceleration. So deceleration or acceleration provided to the body depends upon the braking capacity of the vehicle. And braking capacity is fixed for a given vehicle. It cannot change. It is not that if you apply brakes more powerfully, then more amount of force will be produced. No, that does not happen. Acceleration or the force applied by the brakes on the vehicle, that is always constant, that cannot be increased or decreased. So A is constant, that means what? D is proportional to VO square. That means if your initial speed is more, distance required to stop will be more. If your speed is less, then distance required to stop the vehicle will be less. Therefore, if you are going at a greater speed, amount of distance required to stop the vehicle is more. And now children, remember, if supposing your VO is V, what is the distance required? That will be how much? Equal to V square upon 2A, according to this. So D1 is this much. If your initial speed becomes 2V, double than that, so what will be D2, children? Put 2V over here, VO square upon 2A, that will be 2V upon 2A, that will be 4V square upon 2A, that will be 4 into V square upon 2A, and that will be 4D1, because V square upon 2A is D1. If your VO is 3V, supposing you are going at 3 times the speed, supposing here your speed was 40, now this becomes 80, now this becomes 120 sometimes. So supposedly this was 40, then this will be 80 and this will be 120. If this is your 30 speed, then this will be 60 and this will be 90. So speed is doubled and then tripled. So let us see what happens to D3. VO square upon 2A. VO square means what? 3V square upon 2A. That becomes 9V square upon 2A. So that becomes 9 into V square upon 2A, and that is 9D1. So children, when speed becomes from V to 2V, speed is doubled. The stopping distance is made 4 times as compared to first one. If speed is tripled, if speed is made 3 times, then the stopping distance becomes 9 times. So you can see that amount of distance, if speed is tripled, stopping distance is not tripled, it is made 9 times. If speed is doubled, stopping distance is not doubled, but it is made 4 times. So you can imagine, as your speed increases, the stopping distance increases by a larger amount, and therefore it becomes really difficult to stop the vehicle in a given distance. And therefore, if you go at a greater speed, there are more chances of meeting with an accident. So we should always drive safe and drive slow. So that is about stopping distance. Please go through it. Children, there is one important practical point that is called reaction time. And what is reaction time? When people want to take their license for driving heavy four-wheelers like truck or bus, something like this. So they are to be checked for reaction time. Now what is reaction time? Supposing I am driving a bus or a truck, and supposing an obstacle comes on the road suddenly. So usually what happens that when I see the obstacle, I will take some time to calculate that some obstacle has come in the front, and then only I will apply the brakes accordingly. If the object is very far away, then I may apply brakes very slowly. But if the object is very close, naturally I will try to apply brakes more powerfully. So, how you have to apply brakes, that depends upon what is the distance of object and how you react, in how much time you give reaction. So, from the time of seeing the object, the obstacle in front of you, and the time when you start applying the brakes, there is always some time difference between them, because we take time to understand the situation and then react accordingly. So for a good pilot, for a good driver, the reaction time should be minimum. He should be able to respond very quickly to the situation, because if there is delay, too much of delay in applying the brakes, then there may be an accident. So how is reaction time of a person calculated? In how much time he will react to a given situation? For that, there is a very small experiment, children. This is a scale on which there is ruling. There is centimeter marking over here. What we'll do is, one person will come and hold this scale like this, not myself. Somebody else will come and hold the scale, and I will put these two fingers like this, the thumb and the first finger, to catch the scale as soon as this person will leave the scale. Now we will just wait, and as soon as this person will leave the scale, I will see that scale has started falling, and then I will react and I will try to hold the scale. So what we'll do is, see the experiment, I am keeping my fingers at 0 point, and because this is the same person who is letting fall the scale, so naturally my reaction time will be lesser, because I know when this hand is left the scale. But if somebody else will be there, I may not come to know at what time he will drop the scale. So naturally time will be more in that case. That will be the correct evaluation of my reaction time anyway. I hold like this and I drop the scale, and see, the scale has crossed and I have got over here. This much, how much? This is 7 centimeters. So the scale has crossed a distance of 7 centimeters before I could hold it. Actually my reaction time should be 0. Everybody's reaction time should be 0 ideally. That means as soon as this scale is dropped, I immediately hold it. But what happened, because of my reaction time, I realized that okay, the scale has started falling, and then I give reaction and I hold it like this. So there is some time delay between my observation of the scale started falling and now I am holding it, I am showing reaction. So some time has passed, and how much is the time we want to know. So first I see how much distance, supposing it is 7 centimeters. This scale is falling freely. What was the initial speed of the scale? VO was 0. It was falling under gravity equal to 9.8 or 10 meter per second square you can take. Supposing the distance it traveled, the scale before I caught it, that was 7 centimeter, and therefore that is 0.07 meter. Now you know the formula, T equal to VOT plus half AT square. So this is 0.07, VO is 0, time taken we want to find out, this is the time, reaction time, half into 9.8 into T square. So 0.07 is 4.9 T square. So now I use calculator. See, 0.07 divided by 4.9, that is coming out to be, so T square is 0.01428, like this, and then in square root, it is coming out to be 0.119 seconds or approximately 0.12 seconds. So what is my reaction time, children? 0.12 seconds. In 0.12 seconds I will be able to apply the brakes. That is my reaction time. Ideally it should be 0, and now you can calculate your own reaction time, asking somebody else to hold the scale, and you just try to do it and calculate by this formula. You will come to know what is reaction time. That was all for motion of a body under gravity. We will take up more sums in the next video. Thank you and God bless you, children. This was about your textbook portion according to this article. All examples I have taken up.